And we are live from ball sweating Austin, Texas. Hey, let's pour ourselves something. Hey, Richard, Wills, Jesus, buenos dias, and whoever else shows up, roll on there. This is sort of an impromptu. Richard, Anu, thank you much for tuning in. This is somewhat of an impromptu. We're in the student dining room and kitchen.
Yeah, dining room,
At the Engelbrecht housing at the Wizard Academy. And we're here because of freaking COVID.
We need more whiskey in our lives.
Apparently. So when COVID happens, we drink more. Hey, Ron, thank you very much for tuning in. So, all right. I get freaking laugh. All right. So, a little context. This is somewhat impromptu, very late notice. In short, because of COVID, shit happens. The goal was, so we just graduated, along with Richard Amiro from the Wizard Academy Whisky marketing class, level 1 for the Whisky song class. Had a great time. We're just gonna share a little bit about that and do a little bit of drinking, just that much.
Or whatever I need for the flight beforehand.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but his lovely wife's over here. So you got to drag him into there, get him secretly past TSA and security.
Yeah, quite a few bottles. Got to make it through TSA.
So, because of the COVID crap, bars are closed, and so on and so forth. Tasting rooms, you can go buy a bottle, which I did, but you can't sit down and taste, so they're not serving. So Richard, who's in the room, if he was working right now, would be serving, or he'd be serving, but you can't do that. So that just throws a wrench into everything. So basically, we're like, oh shit. The plan was, okay, I'll fly back home on Saturday. They'll fly back home on Saturday. And like, well, crap. Well, now what are we gonna do? Let's live stream. What the heck? Right. Let's find something else to do. A little impromptu. So what the heck? I'll pick up a bottle, and I got a couple of bottles, and we'll pour a little bit and just share a little bit about our experiences. And I'm gonna ask him a lot of questions.
Oh, yeah, of course. Ask me a ton. I have nothing to hide.
So, in case you don't know, this is my grandson Logan from Colorado.
We actually had to tell someone that one of the distilleries today.
And we're drinking. This is a bottle of the Eleanor 9.6. 9.6. It's bottled at 116.9 proof or 58.5% alcohol by volume. This is bottle number 59. We'll kind of stick this over here in the meantime.
And this is supposed to be a lot like Michter's using used oak barrels instead of new charred oak ones.
Right? Oh, okay. I don't know. Ask Richard. Richard knows this shit. I don't know this shit.
Yeah, he might know that.
Yeah, ask Richard. And Richard just graduated as well. He's now a fellow alum of the school. And that's why we're wearing these freaking really heavy coasters on our neck.
Yep.
There you go. There we go. Wow. Oh, I got it.
There we go.
Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. Anyway, this thing's heavy. I'm taking it off. It's really, really heavy. It hurts my neck. I'm old. Anyway, so like, okay, what are we gonna do? I thought, what the heck? Now I'm gonna do a more full-on video about the school, and basically what I'll do is sort of a comparison between this school and other whiskey training schools, such as the Edinburgh Whisky Academy. I'll compare it with, say, like the Winesburg Educational Trust and what they do with spirits. And there are some other online schools. So I'll do a side-by-side comparison, comparing this school, the experience, and so on and so forth. Because I think they all really approach things very, very differently. They're not all doing the same thing. They have different purposes. They have different angles. But I'm going to save that for another time. That'll probably be another week to put that out. In case you guys don't know, and I'll put a link down later, down below. I did a view on the tribe. Is the Whiskey Tribe a cult? Short answer, yes.
Yeah.
Basically. And should we show them the branding we got on our ass?
Yeah, we might need to.
Here we go. So, and then, I lost my train of thought.
It's kind of like Jarhead where they put the USMC thing.
Yeah, that.
They end up blaming each other.
Right. Man, I completely left. Oh,
yeah.
Anyway, so but I'll do that later. I'll do side by side comparison. Oh, I did another video on. It's called Whiskey $4,000 Whiskey School. So in the beginning, I go, $4,000 whiskey school? Are you kidding me? That's sort of the intro. So not going to talk about economics in that upcoming video because I've already sort of covered the bases, all that in terms of comparison with other marketing schools. So I'll just do a compare of the type of the education, not the financials and all kind of stuff. Although it always sort of comes into play whether you think it's worth it or not. Anyway, so I just kind of want to talk to Logan a little bit. We'll get an opportunity to talk to him, hear his side of it. You can hear my side of it later when I do that video. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the chat. And I know the print's really, really small. So I didn't bring my really, really good mic with me because I wasn't planning on doing live streams. This is an impromptu because we couldn't hang out and drink up there. So I thought, what the hell? Got to have something to do. Let's do a live stream. So hopefully the mic is good enough. So you're going to need to be a little bit more.
Have to be a lot louder.
Yeah, talk a little bit louder. And so the more we drink, the louder we'll get.
Oh, definitely.
There you go. So, alrighty. So, take a little sip. Pinky's out. Now that we're past.
Yeah.
Now we can be whiskey snob. Pinky's out.
That's good.
It's good. It's sweet and tastes like bourbon.
Nectar of the gods.
I thought it was more like the urine of the demons. The urine of the demons. Satan's piss.
Yep.
Actually, if you're teetotal, that's probably what they call it. Anyway, so you guys, I live in California. You can tell by the accent. So Logan and his lovely wife, Amy, who's on the other side, she's watching over there. She has a little bit more humility than we do. She's a little more calm, a little more rational. She's not as nutso. Yeah, she's over there. She didn't want to come over and be a nutbag. So where are you originally from?
We were originally here from Texarkana, Texas, but then we ended up moving to Fort Collins, Colorado last year.
So when you do a live stream, you kind of have to, or even when you have to kind of talk as if you're talking about that back wall.
Gotcha.
So this is normal conversation at this volume. And so the way I talk when I have my camera, this little school here, yet you kind of project because it's kind of like the camera adds 10 pounds. The mic reduces your volume. So you actually have to project just a little bit more so that everybody can hear you. Plus we don't have the best of mics. So kind of project back. You don't have to scream and yell like an idiot.
Okay.
But you do have to sort of project rather than at this conversational range. So, by the way, we both taken the COVID test. We both tested negative, and
we did test positive for quite a few things, though.
Yes. Apparently, I'm in my second trimester. I'll be expecting in October. Anyway, so you're originally from?
We're originally from Texarkana, Texas, and we moved to Colorado, Fort Collins last year. And it was got married, and then we went to hell with it. We're going straight to Colorado, and then just booked and hauled ass across with everything we owned, and now we live up there.
So, what do you do up there in Colorado?
I work at Wilbur's Total Beverage, the largest.
Say that a little. You have to enunciate. Yeah. You do a beverage.
Yep. Wilbur's Total Beverage in Northern.
I still didn't get Wilbur's still beverage.
Wilbur's Total's Beverage.
Wilbur's Total Beverage.
One of the largest liquor stores in Northern Colorado.
That's Wilbur. One more time.
Total.
WilburTotalBeverage.com. I don't know what is that. Do they have a website?
Yeah, they do have a website. So if you ever want to do curbside pickup, you can do it there.
There you go. And that's a free plug. So when you're in the neighborhood, that's Wilbur's. One more time.
Total Beverage.
TotalBeverage.com. Check it out, or just Google it. Whatever. This is not sponsored. Anyway, so you work there. So I've never been there. And total wine stores can sort of be different in sizes. In terms of the size of the place, how would it compare to like a typical Total Wine?
I don't know about Total Wine. I would probably put it about the same size as most of the specs around here. And probably one of the bigger one that's closer to Crowded Barrel, I'd say.
Oh, okay.
Where it's large, has a very big wine selection. Not really in terms of bigger spirits like tequila or scotches, but plenty of bourbons to choose from, plenty of Bordeaux's, Chiantis, most French stuff. Primarily, quite a bit of Tuscany as well.
Okay. He just broke the cardinal rule. We don't talk about wine on a whiskey channel. I never, ever do that. So I never talk about wine on the whiskey channel. So we're gonna. So are you do you specialize in one particular thing in the store, or just sort of general everywhere? Or?
Generally everywhere. Most of the time, it's they kind of have me inside the liquor department most of the time, but sometimes they'll have me on the front register, or I'll be downstacking truck once we get big shipments in. Most of our allocated stuff I end up throwing inside the lockup, mostly Blanton's, Weller, Pappy, whenever off chance we do get it.
So I know we're not supposed to talk about wine because this is a whiskey channel. So have you learned anything about wine in the meantime, or?
A little bit. It's more of trying to figure out what tastes good to me and then going from there. I mean, you and I talked about Rufino, Chianti Reserva Classico, and then Vino Verde from Chile.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or is that Portugal?
Portugal,
yeah. And then there's a Malbec. It's from Bosco.
Probably from Argentina.
Yeah, Argentina.
And from the Mendoza.
Yeah, that's
where the Nazis hide at, by the way.
That just goes shows how much I know about wine. Not a lot. Very, very small amount.
So I told Zach and Daniel that so Tuesday, Wednesday was the Whiskey Somm 1 class, which was really, really, really good. Really, really enjoyed it. For me personally, it's filling a particular, I would say, avenue or niche or part of whiskey education that I really want to enhance on. And before I did that, I went through the Magical Worlds class, which sounds like, you get to, get your Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck costume afterwards. But basically, marketing class, which centers around communication and principles of communication, starting from the right and left side part of the brain. You actually get into the anatomy of the brain, and then you go through examples of communication with art, music, architecture, poetry, and so on and so forth, and learn about communication. Then understanding how we communicate, how we interact, appealing to these two different sides, and then how you can do this well versus how you can do this really, really crappy. And so that class is mostly focused on helping improve your communication skills. And there's a lot of writing assignments, and then, at least for me personally, kind of getting reamed by Roy Williams. No, that was wrong. That was wrong. This was wrong. You could have done better on this. And But I know you like this, so I'm gonna critique you some more. There you go. It was awesome, but from the first day was 11 hours long, and I woke up at 4 a.m. the next morning, and my brain was like still trying to digest all that, and I'm still digesting all that. I learned it's like an entire semester of college crammed into 3 days is what that was like. It was really, 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 really good. So I'll get more on this in that video. This essentially takes the principles and applies it in one particular area, which is whiskey. So that's in the most simplest form is what the class is about. I'll get more into that when I get another video. So all right, so you're working at what was the name of that store again?
Wilbur's Total Beverage.
Wilbur's Total Beverage. Fine liquors and wines and beers, I'd imagine.
Quite a few, especially in northern Colorado. We have like most of the craft industry. New Belgium and Odell's and Wellworks is near there, so we get quite a bit of craft industry.
Cool. So how long you been there?
We've been there.
No, you. How long you?
I've been there for about a year, close to.
Okay. So you're into whiskey. So basically, what's your start and what's your beginning of your whiskey journey?
Beginning of my whiskey journey, I was 16. My dad caught me.
I thought he was going to say he was 6.
Yeah, of course. I was 16. My dad caught me with a jug of Old Crow, and he did not like that I was drinking Old Crow, so he took the bottle from me, poured it down the sink, and got Maker's Mark Cask Strength, and that was the first whiskey I ever had with my.
Put down those cigarettes. Smoke a joint like a real man.
You're gonna get a Cuban cigar. Right?
There you go. Here's a Cuban
Yeah.
cigar. Put down those damn Marlboros. Here's a Cuban cigar.
So that was definitely the beginning of my whiskey journey.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Did you like it at first, or you're like?
It was I knew it was whiskey immediately.
Yeah. So did you like it right away, or did you kind of grow into it?
I kind of grew into it more than anything. It was over time as me and my dad worked more and more together. It was usually after work, long day. We'd eat dinner and then we'd have whiskey as right before we went to bed.
Wow.
It was always just kind of like
He grew up in a very
tradition.
different family than I did.
Yeah.
I grew up in a family where my dad drank beer, but when we were at a restaurant and someone else from the church showed up, it was like, oh, cruddy. My name was embarrassed that someone saw him drinking beer. We won't talk about religion. All right. So you've been into whiskeys for how long now then? So okay. You said you were 16?
16 whenever I first started. Actually,
and you're I'm afraid to ask this question. How old are you now?
22.
Oh my God. Wow. I think I've been into whiskey longer than you've been alive. At least no wine. No, actually, I have. I've been into wine longer than you've been alive.
You just broke the cardinal rule. You're talking about wine.
There you go. Talking about wine. So it's a little hard to read. Your vision might be better than mine to read comments.
John wants to know what is Engelbrecht.
Oh, Engelbrecht.
Engelbrecht.
It's a very fine pastry. No. Sorry. Engelbrecht is the name of the person who helped build this place. And so student housing is called Engelbrecht. That's a great question. Thank you very much. You can drop terms and words and assume everybody knows what the heck it is you're talking about. Hey, Hoagie Bear. Actually, where you're at, it's probably Goodnabben. He's over in Germany.
Oh, I got you.
So, so if you want to catch my attention, if you put Eric Waite Whiskey Studies, or if you put the @ symbol and begin to type, it should autofill, and then it'll catch my attention. It'll be a little easier to know that you have a question for me. So, his question was, what is Engelbrecht? Engelbrecht is the name of the place that we're hanging on. So basically, the Whiskey Academy, if somebody really believes in something, they're going to be behind 110%. So as the school itself is an NPO, a nonprofit organization, and so everything here is a reflection of sort of I would say the philosophy and art of its founder, but also the community that's 110% behind it. Mm-hmm. And so everything here, from the student housing to the coffee maker, to the toilet, anything in here, somebody's name is probably on it. Because it got paid for by someone that said, I want to support that. I'm going to support, and so they contribute to something to here. So there's little tags everywhere with people's names on it. Or this whole building is named after a gentleman. In fact, there's a Whiskey Tribe video where the guy who helped build this, he's a very tall, handsome, bold man. In fact, I was just watching, he was on with Daniel, and so he helped found it. It was one of the really, really early Tribe videos. Anyway, so let's get back to your story.
Yeah.
So you've been into whiskey for about 6 years then?
Yeah, about 6 years. And
okay.
It's been all hardcore research since I was 21. I was actually able to legally buy alcohol, not from the homeless guy I gave $50 to.
Right.
It was, I did hardcore research, logged everything that I got from the tasting notes, when I had them, in what state, what time, just so that way there wasn't any emotions or any time period that kind of.
So you started doing that from the very beginning?
From the very beginning.
Wow, this is my kind of whiskey nerd. It's funny because I did something similar, not on a computer, but I started right after when I started my wine thing back in '97. I just right from even though I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground when it came to wine, I took very detailed notes, and if I didn't keep them, just the very act of writing them down, I drilled into my head my first impressions of those wines. So that's what I recall. So I actually noticed. So I come down here to the student dining area and the kitchen behind us, and you were typing in all your notes from class onto your laptop. So that's really, really, really cool.
Yeah, I think in terms of hardcore research, probably about 1,000 whiskeys logged and documented.
Wow, that's impressive. So I mean, being a whiskey tuber, a lot of my stuff I have on video, even if some like the older stuff I deleted. And a lot of stuff I've kept photos of. I'll take a snapshot of something, and I'll have more of a general impression of it than I would in something specifics. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's impressive. That's excellent. Because even if, for the sake of argument, if you never went back and read them, the taking the time to put in the detail, it does go in your head. But the funny thing is, so is 10 years from now, let's say you were to start from scratch and do those all over again, your notes and perceptions might be completely different as well.
Yeah, no, entirely. That's why I've been probably looking at redoing most of my first ones and then maybe comparing and contrasting, like, what do I get different from this time versus why the hell did I describe it in that way? Especially when you're like 21, you don't know, like you said, your ass from hole in ground.
Right.
Kind of hard to talk about tasting notes.
Right.
At a young age.
But I mean, so then it's always a matter of, did I change or did the wine or whiskey change, or a little of both? With wine, because you have vintages, is a bigger, more of a change. But they can change a mash. They can change, you know, if it's a non-age statement, they could have, you know, later on have younger casts in there, so the whiskey itself can change as well. But all right, guys. So no, we're in Texas. So those are tuning a little late. We are in Austin, Texas, where men are men and sheep are scared, and it is hotter. And it's like 100 degrees outside, and the humidity is off the scale, and the bugs will eat you alive. But thankfully in here, it's nice and air conditioned. And we're coming to you live from the student housing kitchen area. And the reason why we're down here doing this, sort of a little bit impromptu, for those who are tuning in late, is due to the COVID crap, all bars are closed, tasting rooms are closed. So you can go to a distillery and pick up a bottle, which I'm glad at least they can do that. Yeah. So they're not being handcuffed for making sales. But since we couldn't hang out at the Crowded Barrel tasting room with a fang and feather, I grabbed a bottle, and we're down here. Actually, it's air conditioned here, where we'd be outdoors.
Yeah, it would probably even harder mic, like in terms of like trying to talk, you probably end up having to scream.
Oh well, up there I wouldn't do a live stream up there. Yeah, no, I wouldn't, because if they were open and pouring, then there'd be a lot of people around. I wouldn't necessarily do a live stream. I mean, I wouldn't do that. We'd just be hanging out and chatting with people and meeting people and stuff like that. So anyway, so we both have we got hood ornaments from. My suggestion was, because this thing's, I mean, it's really freaking heavy. I suggested, rather than just a solid, like heavy thing, is actually make it a flask, so it would be like hollow, and you could put like your whiskey in there, and then you could have it around your neck, like this. I'm at least I can fit this around my fat head. Yeah. You can take off your. It'd be cool. You'd be at a party. Oh yes. Yes. I am a whiskey sommelier. Yes.
Take a quick sip. Yeah.
Like that. I mean, that would be awesome. In fact, I might have some made. I'll look around and see if I can custom flasks that would look like this. I could hang it around my neck, put something in it, and the next time I come back here, I'll be like, "Hey, Daniel, how's it going, man?" He'd be like, "Eric, where do you get those? I got to get me one of those." Oh, no problem. $59.99. There you go.
That'll probably be a part of like a Whiskey 4 whenever Daniel ends up getting that made.
There you go.
There you go. Another flask on top of your medallion.
So if you think this is ridiculous, then you understand it 110% correctly. So I guess what they do is you keep the same big ass metal, but they changed what it is that hangs around your neck. And because these people are freaking brilliant, as you go up the levels, the thing that holds your neck on your neck gets heavier and heavier. So the idea is it becomes more and more freaking ridiculous to be wearing this thing. But you also get a pin, which I'm glad. Yeah, we get these. There's a little pin. So if you guys watch my videos, you know, I have like a certified sommelier pin and probably a WSET pin, and I got my whiskey in back from the Edinburgh Whiskey Academy pin and so forth. So pretty soon I'll look like some war veteran. You know, have all these pins going up back and forth, these medals hanging down below and whatever, you know, and I'll get like an admiral's hat with a little fleur-de-lis on it and all this kind of crap. You know, because that's what you do when you want to be ridiculous.
I'm probably gonna butcher this. Alti said, "You're sure that's not golden foil covered chocolate?"
I wish. Yeah. It would be a lot lighter, but this thing would have completely melted from the classroom all the way down here. Oh, yeah, it's so damn hot. Yeah, otherwise,
pretty much like the moment we got into the box, it would have melted.
just to make sure. No. It would be a lot lighter, but it would have melted by the time we got down here. So anyway, okay. So back to the story.
Sorry, go ahead.
So no. So when you get older, you get off on these weird ass tangents. And we used to tie an onion around our belt because that was a style in those days. So okay, so you're in Colorado, and you're working at
Wilbur's Total Beverage.
Wilbur's Total Beverage, fine wine, spirits, and beers. So you gotta you need to work on your announcer's voice.
Yeah,
get that announcer voice going on. It comes with it takes a couple of decades to kind of work on that.
There you go.
And so, but you sort of work in general, working in the store, mostly focused, you think, on liquors.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I would highly recommend. I mean, learn a little bit more about wines and that kind of stuff would be cool too. Mm-hmm. So here's part of my scheme. Don't tell Daniel I said this. So when we finished Tuesday and Wednesday, we did the whiskey somm class. On Thursday, I taught a class on sherry, and then sherry cask finished whiskeys. And see, what they don't know is I'm incrementally working in wine. So eventually, the whiskey vault would become a wine vault with one bottle of Lafroig for Emma. But other than that, it's going to become a wine vault, and then it'll be a wine marketing school. That's the plan. It'll take some time. But eventually I'll work it in there. See, most like a lot of you guys, I convert you guys over to wine. So that's the way you do it. All right, back to the story.
Sorry, go ahead.
Back to the story. I digress. All right, so you've been, how long have you been working there then?
I've been working there for 8 months.
Oh wow, okay.
8 months, yeah.
Okay, cool. So how long have you been following, say, like the Vault and the Tribe and stuff?
Probably since 2018, I'd say. So probably since I turned 20 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very late or young to it. It was kind of all depending, because I can't remember when the Tribe got made. Whenever they finally did the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I don't know. So the school. Yeah, probably around that. I'd have to look that up. Someone has created up a playlist where it has all these sequential videos. That'd be interesting to look at. And my problem is the older I get, my sense of how much time has passed kind of gets confused. So here's the funny thing. So I didn't get into wine until I was like 30. So I was really, really getting into it. And then I didn't get into whiskey till 4 years ago. So I mean, you're really, really, really starting the journey early, which I think is really, really, really cool. And I think you're starting in a really good way. You got your foot in the door, working in the trade, and now you're getting some more formal training. And the whiskey journey or whether you're studying wine or whiskey is a never-ending process. So what made you think, hey, other than this is such a cool place and these are cool guys, what kind of made you think, okay, hey, I think I'm gonna go check this place out?
I think it was probably the 10 budget bourbons that they had on the Whiskey Vault or Whiskey Tribe video, where they went, we didn't pick these. Our comment section on Facebook picked them.
Okay.
And it was all
gotcha.
voted what was best, and I've never seen that in a YouTube channel or any channel or any people be like, my 2 cents are getting put aside, and I'm gonna put the tribe or the people that are following me first.
Cool.
Which is very interesting to see. And then I went, and I wouldn't mind going to this school, learning what they know, and then going on from there.
Okay. By the way, this channel is also sponsored by Red Bull. Can you guys hear him okay? Just want to make sure. Because I'm working off my laptop and the mic isn't the best. I don't have my real nice, Yeti mic. And this channel is also sponsored by Yeti microphones, high quality microphones for doing live streams. There you go. One of these days I might get some sort of sponsor my channel. All right. So how long then you've been dreaming, fantasizing about coming down here then?
Probably. Man, I'm trying to think. Probably once when my wife and I actually.
You need to drink more, you think?
Yeah, I think so too.
Is that for you, son?
Of course.
There you go.
Probably the first time whenever my wife and I started dating, we actually started watching the show together.
Okay.
And then when we started watching a little bit more and more, I said, well, why don't we make a trip up there?
Okay.
And so the trip got pushed up until March of this year. We went, okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna fork over money and savings and then get going.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So it is a big commitment. So the class had, how many people? Did we have like 8 people?
Yeah, we just had 8 people.
Yeah. So in comparison to, I think, what they typically have, it was a small. All right. Steve A says audio is great. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you very
awesome.
much. Awesome. Thanks, Steve. So the ones that are in blue, those are my hall monitors. They'll boot out the nasty people, or the good people who are just just for the hell of it. So, so one of the things I mean, it's crazy times, and I don't like to talk about all the bullshit because everybody knows what the hell's going on. Mm-hmm. But I was really, 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 really thankful that this didn't get canceled. And the class that I taught on sherry and sherry cask finished whiskeys, it was like touch and go. Okay, is this going to work out? Are we going to do this? Is this going to work out? Is this going to work out? You know, because when the government says you can be open, you can't be open. You can be open, you can't be open. You can be open. It's like shit balls, you know. And so you never know. And it's not like the government, you know, is really concerned about everybody's business or how everybody plans are going to make. And you know, my original flights, so I was down here 2 weeks ago. I originally was going to travel all over Texas. I was going to be visiting distilleries near Fort Worth. I was going to come here in the back in Austin area. I was going to be down there in Houston. That all got, you know, clammed. And then I came there ended up coming there just for the marketing school a couple of weeks ago. But you know, it's really like touch and go. But I was really, really happy it went through. We're probably gonna do more likely, you know, gonna do it again. We're gonna start talking about doing more things in the future. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I'll be back here hopefully in April, maybe next year, and we'll see how that goes. So Lord willing, this plague will be over and stuff will be back, life will be back to normal. But we'll see how it goes. All right, so you decided to come on down here. You're gonna sell one of your vital organs in order for it to come down here, you know, sell a few gallons of your blood.
I woke up in a tub without one kidney.
Here you go, and make the trek down here. So what would you say are sort of your overall impression in terms of what you're expecting, what you thought it would be like versus what it was actually? What do you expect?
First day of class, I went in. And I mentioned the story to you where I was sitting in and I didn't realize I was going to meet Daniel Whittington in the class. So it was sitting there 8 o'clock in the morning, still wiping the sleep from my eyes. And then I just see two grown men in kilts and fedoras marching into our room.
There you go.
And I go, oh, that's Daniel. Oh, that's Daniel. It kind of hit me. Right. And then I squeezed my wife's hand and, that's Daniel Whittington. He goes, I know, but I don't really know who he is.
So it was Daniel and Zach, who is, I'm trying to remember what his official title is.
Vice Chancellor.
Vice Chancellor. Yeah. There you go. He's the Vice Chancellor. Anyway, so then before class starts, everybody goes forward and we all bow and kiss Daniel's ring, you know, and then he does this thing like that, and then we all take our seats. And then the class begins. So,
well, no, I think we also had breakfast whiskey that first day.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then we found out second day that was what, Bunnahabhain 25. It was a very expensive bottle.
Oh, that's right.
Whiskey.
That's right. Yeah. So we had, and it was from a paper cup.
Yeah, a paper cup, and he wanted us to shoot it.
Right. So we actually began out on not the porch. Yeah, we hung out on the back porch on this like patio area that goes from in between the classroom and where the new vault is, because they moved the vault where the new vault is. And so he has a bottle. It just looks like a regular bottle. You know, you don't know what it is. Pours it in. You say, "Hi, my name's Eric Wade." Blah 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 blah. You know, what's your story? Where are you from? So it's basically an introduction, and then you shoot this Bunnahabhain 25. Now we aren't told till afterwards it's the Bunnahabhain 25. Bunnahabhain 25. Google it. It's like $500-600. Did you know that? Yeah, no,
I did. He went, oh, it runs at about $625 here.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, I had the Bunnahabhain 25 in Scotland. What is the name of that castle? I know. I stayed at a castle on the Kintyre Peninsula when I was visiting Campbellton, and so at a bar at the castle, I had the 25. So the Bunnahabhain 25 is actually part of the core range, and then there's the Bunnahabhain 40-year-old, which is also core range. How can that be a core range? And that's like probably a grand or more. So basically, you're tasting a Bunnahabhain core range that nobody can afford, and yet you can find it pretty widely, but it's just insanely expensive. But anyway, it tasted good, but my focus was not on how good it was. Because one, you got out a freaking styrofoam paper cup, and I think that was intentional, rather than a Glencairn. Everything else was done in Glencairn. The whole thing is not done in paper cups.
Yeah.
But the number of problem is we had to wear masks because we had to wear masks the entire time and try to drink through the mask. That was a little challenging.
It was normally having to cut a hole in one.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Or I used a sippy straw off the side and put it underneath. And yeah, so that's how we've been into introductions. So the funny thing is, if we'd been told what it was, I probably wouldn't have paid attention to what anybody was saying.
Yeah.
It would have been totally focused on the whiskey.
I probably would have not drank it. I probably would have put it behind me and then said I did.
Or I would have said, dude, what the hell, man? Paper cups? What's wrong with you?
I was the same as the Middleton that you brought out.
It's pronounced Mid-Letten, not Middleton. Just to correct you on that. It's Mid-Letten. There's only one D, so it's got to be Mid-Letten.
But anyways, they had brought out the Mid-Letten. Which one was it? I can't remember what year, but it was.
I don't know. I'm not the one taking freaking notes. You take the freaking notes. Look at your freaking notes, dude. Why the hell are you taking notes?
Oh, I don't have my computer.
Oh, I'm not taking freaking notes. I don't know.
It's all packed in there, but it was a very expensive bottle because it came out of the wooden case that folded out, and we were toasting.
So if you want to sell it for more money, just put your whiskey in a wood box.
Oh yeah,
that's how you do it.
Angels Envy cash strength.
I've never.
Yeah.
They put it in a wood box. How much they charge for that one?
For us, I got it at base price of $150, but for
retail
to go in, it would probably be like $225.
Oh, let's brag about having an insider deal on the Angels. Ooh, cash strength. Ooh. All right.
Probably.
By the way, this is way classes. The whole atmosphere that you don't take anything serious.
About $225, $230.
Holy schmoly. Okay,
it's a very expensive cash strength.
And I'm guessing you've had it.
Oh yeah.
So do you think it's worth anywhere near that range?
I really don't think it's worth $200, but that is just me.
Okay, so if you were to put it just for shit saying, you could get fired. We probably shouldn't do this. Because who do you work for again?
Wilbur's Total Beverage.
Wilbur's Total Beverage. If they might hear this, they might get upset. We won't say anymore. I don't want to. Eric, I got fired. Can you help me out?
Do you have a job?
Yeah, you have a job together. So anyway, so it was in March. You decided, hey, let's take this class.
Yeah.
And that was kind of when all this stuff was starting to kick off, though, all this nonsense.
Oh yeah, it was 3 weeks later. No, less than 3 weeks later. I think we signed up for it second day of March, and then my wife got laid off of work the beginning of April. Her last day of actually working was the 28th of March, and then I got overtime immediately, having forced to wear masks and everything. So it worked out to, in a sense, where I was working like 50 to 56 hours a week, and then get I think it's like a $200 bonus because being an essential worker, quote unquote, in Colorado, you got $200.
Liquor salespeople are essential workers. Make a note of that. If you're looking for a career, but not if you're in a bar. You're fucked if you're in a bar
or a tap room.
Yeah, or a tap room. But in terms of liquor stores, there you go. So I probably maybe just shortly after Christmas, I knew at some point in time I wanted to come down there. It's just a matter of holiday schedules, vacation time, where do I want to fit it in? And as soon as they posted what the schedule would be for the year and when the classes were, it's probably when I signed up for it.
Yeah.
And then I put in my pay time off PTO request as to when I was going to take off. But then after that, it was never a sure. It could have been this whole thing got canceled, then I got canceled, and all that. So
yeah, no, that was the big thing. Was I had emailed Zach, I think, beginning of May. I went, hey, is this even still going on? Because Austin was getting hit with the big COVID numbers for quite a while.
Right. So we got off track. I asked Zach earlier. No, that's my fault. So I'd asked you. So what was your first impression? Okay, so seeing Daniel, they only wear the kilts and the fedora. Yeah, just sort of the one day, sort of the introduction. Because not only they're wearing a kilt, they're like wearing a jacket and they got the tie on, and they probably have like half a pound of underarm deodorant underneath. Because even with AC, because I stood up there for the class was started at 10 and we wrapped up shortly after 3. So you're up there. Of course, we had a break for lunch. So you're up there 4 or 5 hours, and you just constantly you're sweating, you're talking, all kind of stuff. But they did for this day, and then they were comfortable the other 2 days. I do have, by the way, don't tell. I took a picture of Daniel under the kilt. He wasn't wearing any underwear. I'm gonna post them later on. I'll post them later on if you're interested. Anyway,
Was there quite a bit of sweat on your phone?
anyway. So okay, so you're like, wow, this is really really cool. This is the guy we watch all the time on the YouTubes. And now we got to get to meet him and be in this class. Okay, we're not going. Okay, we're gonna go from there.
And then it was, I think, then after shooting Bunahaven, we went, all right, let's get into a whiskey tasting right after having Bunahaven. I believe it was the small introduction.
I don't know. I wasn't taking notes. I don't remember. So throughout the class, you learned out of class, and then every once in a while they do a line of three drams, and there might be 3 from the same region, 3 from the different, or 3 of the same style, 3 different styles. So the theme is you're doing these comparisons according to categories throughout. So we probably, I don't remember, how many did we do for the entire first day, you think?
First day, I think 18.
18, wow.
18 whiskeys in total, I think.
I don't remember. I wasn't taking notes.
Yeah, because it was 3 sets, and then we went through, or it was 3 a piece, and we did 6 different flights.
See, if you already know everything, you don't have to take notes. So that's the way that works.
I mean, that's how I was teacher's pet.
Anyway, so you do a lot of tasting, and if you're smart, you take photos, everything, and then you're taking them somewhat blind. Daniel sort of walks you through them. People sometimes he'll ask, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? What do you think about that? What are you getting on this? What are you getting on that? That sort of back and forth. And then Daniel shows his knowledge and his expertise, and then nails every time at what every freaking whiskey is. I would say up until maybe the last 2 flights, I was getting there was only one that I remember missing in terms of category. I think I was getting almost all of them, but there was one that I really, really got off, and I think it was an Irish. Irish is probably my weakest category that I need to spend more time on. And then there was that one Japanese
Matsui, the peated.
Matsui peated. That was actually the only one I didn't like.
Yeah. I mean, you and I talked about it. My weakest spot is Irish. Everything is on the nose. Honey blossoms and honey, or not honey blossoms, cherry blossoms and honey.
And you know that's wrong, right?
Yeah. Immediately I went, nope, that's not the right stuff.
It's not honey. It's not Irish blossoms or honey blossoms or honey roses.
Honey roses.
No. It's Jolly Green Ranchers and Schnozberry. That's the key to understanding Irish whiskeys.
Well, I kind of think Daniel and Zach both kind of pulled a Willy Wonka whenever he's walking to the entrance where the kids are, and he's walking with the cane. Then he does a somersault. Yeah. And it's one of those, you don't know what the hell's going to happen afterwards.
So the class, you're learning about, obviously, so sure, the textbook, kaplonk, that was my my bondage medal clinking here. So the textbook, so this is Tasting Whiskey by Lou Bryson, an Insider's Guide. I think it's a really, really good book. I like his writing style. There are a few things here and there that I picked up that I didn't know before. So I've got about 80 wine books, mostly reference book, and about now 20 whiskey books. So this was the basic textbook. They sent it to us like 2 weeks before class started, and you should have this entirely read before you show up for class. I would like to get it. I would have liked to have it a little bit earlier, but I finished it. Actually, I finished it probably like maybe the night before the class started. Anyway, so what you were expecting versus you think how things actually went? What do you think?
I think what I was expecting going in was kind of like what I got. Was really laid back, but wasn't expecting to see as much of the productions that you see in the Tribe videos and as much of the Vault videos. I was kind of expecting most of that to be closed off. Zach being the primary teacher and the only teacher, but us ending up having 5 teachers close to it. So
Daniel teaches, Zach teaches, and then Maddox. I'm trying to remember his first name. Chris Maddox. See, there's someone here that was paying attention. That was Amy. Chris Maddox. So actually, he was one of the instructors for the Magical Worlds class. So he focused on developing writing skills. And then we had it was the whiskey and food. And we're not going to get into this. The whiskey and food pairing portion of the class of Introduction to Whiskey and Food Pairing. And I feel bad because I don't remember his name either.
I can't.
No, you don't remember. What we really should do is if you can't dazzle with brilliance, baffle with bush, we should just made up a name. And
We really should.
It was cool. Okay, we're not supposed to tell you, but I'm going to tell you. It was Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay was here. Gordon Ramsay was here. Jason, yeah, it was Gordon Ramsay.
He ended up throwing a lot of shit at us.
You dummies! You got that wrong. So, anyway, all right, let's see who else is coming in the room since. Hey, Whiskey Crusader Will, also a fellow alum. Michael Hassler, Jeffrey Pellegrini, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Michael Hassler. By the way, if you guys have a question, hey, Kilco is in the room. But if you have a question, put my name in there so it'll turn orange. Otherwise, I kind of assume you guys are talking amongst yourselves because the print. It froze. Sorry.
There it goes.
There it goes. Stop touching that thing. All right. When I touch the thing, it freezes. All right, we'll stop. We won't do that. I'm Sylvie. I'm just being goofy for Mark JG. Thank you for tuning in. All righty. So, all right. So what, I've asked this 3 times and I haven't got an answer yet, but it's because I keep interrupting you. So, so what were you expecting versus what it was like? You think?
I think what I was expecting was very small. I wasn't expecting everything to go in as much detail.
Okay.
If anything, from most of the stuff that I've looked over online, where it's just, read a book for like 4 or 5 months and then take a test, and then without even getting any knowledge from it, based off of memorization.
As to what critics say of it?
Not really, kind of. Where it's more of what you get from it is how well you can memorize a book, not based off of what you can memorize from tasting, what you can memorize from actually learning from someone rather than learning from a book.
Right.
I mean, mine is I've always said it is that experience outranks everything.
Okay.
And it's one that if you're not getting the experience that you need, then you can't really relate to someone you may have read a book about Bunnahabhain 12 or just Bunnahabhain in general, but you can't tell what the tasting is, what you would pair it with, even though the book gives you a full in detail history.
So there's theory, and then there's practice.
Yeah.
So with the Court of Master Sommeliers, things are broken down to theory exams, practice exam, which basically you're doing like a floor exam in a mock restaurant, and then there's blind tasting. So you don't get tested in blind tasting. You're more likely getting sort of by contrast and comparison tastings in small doses throughout the class. Mm-hmm. If I were and one of the challenges in teaching is not everybody comes into the class at the same place. Someone could be brand spanking new, and somebody could be a veteran who's been doing stuff for a long time. And you have to, as a teacher, you have to kind of meet people both where they're both at. Yeah. And so, but you have to keep in mind, this is the level 1 class. So, and I'll get more into this when I do a video. What they do for the level 1 with the Court of Master Sommeliers versus what they do at the certified versus what they do at advanced, what you do for the masters or in the WSET, the level 1, 2, 3, and then the diploma. So I have a diploma from the WSET. I mean, that's a WSET diploma is like a miniature master of wine program. It's really, really, really difficult. So you have to kind of tiptoe and kind of introduce people to things and not sort of overwhelm people, because if you just sort of overwhelm people with information, it's just like, how much are they going to capture? So if someone's watching this and you're going to decide, hey, I want to go check that out, my recommendation is, particularly if you're newer to whiskey, with your cell phone. So at the end, when you do tastings and they bring the bottles, take your cell phone and then I'm getting text messages from Daniel. I'm getting a text message from Daniel. Anyway, take pictures of every bottle. I'll say, for shits and giggles, let's say this was what we had, okay? And you just finished tasting it. No, so he's a nerd note, so he's a note nerd. But also a note nerd, and a nerd note. Yeah. And take pictures of the bottle so that you can remember from the bottle, and then do your notes and so forth. So you have a correlation in your mind as to what you tasted in that particular round, and they give you the sheets to fill in what you had, and then they hand out you these blank notepads so so you can take notes and stuff. So I was taking notes of what we had. I was taking notes in terms of what I thought it was and that kind of thing, as well as writing down comments and stuff like that. So I was writing notes, but just not as detailed as this, because this guy's a nerd, you know. So I was doing that part. But I think it really helped keep track of everything you memorized. But so when I went through at the culinary school, went through the wine somm class, I took a picture of every single thing.
Right.
And then when I became a whiskey tuber and wine tuber, basically a lot of my notes are right there on video. So anyway, so
I was going to say, I hate to interrupt, but it looks like Whiskey Crusader wanted to ask, how do you compare this to wine level 1?
That's an awesome question. And actually, that's something I'll cover in that video. In terms of the depth, I would say very comparable, very comparable. I think, so is that Will asking the question?
Yeah, that's
so I think Will has actually done the level 1 with the quartermaster sommeliers. I say it's very, very, very comparable, and comparable in terms of the level of material that you're expected to know, as well as maybe the exam. I think maybe the quartermaster sommelier level 1 exam is a little bit more challenging, but in terms of the depth of information that's conveyed, is I think pretty similar. The quartermaster sommelier level 1 class, basically, excuse me, it's a 1-day class, and then you take an exam. Mm-hmm. So anybody critiques and says, "Oh, you know, it's a 2-day class, and you become a level 1." That's what the quartermaster sommelier does. That's what the Wine and Spirit Educational Trust does. So anybody who critiques it for that, they do a little research on other types of organizations, other types of certifications. I'll get more in depth on that on a future video. So I would say, yeah, it's comparable. It's not exact. I would say the level 1 for this whiskey school, the exam is easier, but the depth of the material, what you expected to know, is pretty much is comparable for us the same. But there's apples and oranges there too. Because this is a marketing school, not a whiskey school. It's a marketing school that applies the principles of marketing and communication to whiskey, not just whiskey in general. So it's very different than, and I'll get into this later, like the Edinburgh Whiskey Academy or anything like that. I'll get more into that. But short, it's comparable. That's the short answer.
I totally interrupted you now.
There you go. See, I'm training him how to interrupt. Yes. All right. So you say it was more in depth than what you're actually expecting. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, because it was, again, most of the research I did before I went with was this whiskey sommelier class here, was that this one seemed to be, again, a lot more in depth as compared to reading a book for 4 to 6 months, and then ended up taking a test and then having to take an additional thing in Denver, Colorado, which is the one we were going to go to to do a wine sommelier course. Okay. But it was only going to take a day, and that was to take the test, not really to even actually learn anything other than the book.
So I would say in general, and I can sort of make a general statement about education in general, whether you're talking about junior college or high school or anything else, is here are the textbooks, here's some lectures, here's an exam. Now regurgitate what's in the book and what's in the lectures in the exam. It's pretty much it. And this isn't exactly that. Again, everything's sort of getting your feet wet, and then it's going to get more in depth as you continue to go on. Now, Daniel said about 80% of the people who take the level 1 don't go on to the level 2 or any further than that. But I'm planning on doing the next one. There has to be a 6-month period between the level 1 and level 2. You should be applying over that 6 months what you learn and so on and so forth, which works out fine for me. So I'm hoping schedule-wise, we'll be back here April next year or whenever it is they do the level 2. I'll be back here next year, but we'll see how that goes. Oh. So now in terms of, let's from a practical standpoint, okay, now you're going to go back to Colorado, mm-hmm. and you're going to be on the job. What do you think is a takeaway from this, do you think, to actually applying it to work?
I guess the best way to say it is, even though I did hardcore research a year before I even came here, it's still one that I still don't know anything. That's the thing that Daniel put on the PowerPoint, is you don't know as much as what you think you know.
Right.
And it was one that really kind of humbles you to an extent. I think maybe going with a little bit more open-minded to a lot of whiskeys that I'm not a huge fan of.
Right.
Like I'm not a huge fan of most Highlands just because I find
Okay.
them a little boring. But then having some of the blind taste tests.
Get out of here, you heretic! I can't. Anyway, sorry.
But it was one of those that it made me rethink instead of.
He's a rye guy. He's into rye. I mean, you got to take that into consideration.
But yeah, it was one that put me into a lot of consideration of how much a bottle, how much something says Highland, caused me to be. Oh, I don't want a Highland. I don't like Highlands. I didn't like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's best we said that Daniel said. You don't like a certain category of whiskey. You don't like the one or few that you have in that category.
Right.
There's always a diamond in coal, no matter what. Once it gets pressured,
right,
you get that one that you're just never
right,
gonna go.
Right. So like I think Daniel tells the story of the Morlock 16 that he had that just kind of always stuck in his head. And then I mean I started with the Macallan 12, which still I think is a really nice whiskey, and eventually get into peated and whatever else. I haven't explored enough of Irish. That's sort of like for me. I really came away I want to spend a lot more time in Irish. And I've said this before. So Irish, Canadian, and Japanese. Japanese for me has been sort of a category. I'm waiting for them to get their shit together and sort of to form their version of the SWA, which they may be working on. But I've been sort of, every time you approach a Japanese bottle, it's like, that is really pretty label. Okay, but is it really Japanese whiskey?
Yeah.
So there's that thing going on. I've been kind of, Canadian whiskey is this whole thing where the best stuff you can't get across, you can't get here. It's all in Canada. But I've been, I kind of plotted out a trip to go to Canada and visit some of the whiskey tubers up there. Rob, Whiskey and Six, Jeremy, Social Sipper Club by the seashore selling seashells. Okay. So that's the question.
Yeah, Mr. Archie Tyler, Eric Waite, Whiskey Studies. Can you recommend more books about whiskey info?
Yeah. First of all, the book that you got today by Heather Green, called Whiskey Distilled. I like not only in terms of the information she puts in there, but the way she writes. By the way, as far as I know, she's the first person that I know that was referred to as a whiskey somm, and not by herself, but by the media. And she was in New York, and now she's out here in Blanco, Texas, which is about 30 minutes from here. In fact, we dropped by the distiller today, and he got a bottle of the rye.
Where you had to lie that you were my grandfather.
I told him, this is my grandson. I should have gone for son. Grandson was a bit of a stretch. Although if you're, in some states people start early. Anyway, so we buy that. So what was the question?
The question was, can you recommend more books?
Okay, so Whiskey Distilled by Heather Green, I think is really, really, really good. Anything by Dave Bloom. Sometimes I want to say Broom, like Broom, but I think it's Dave Bloom. Anything by Dave Bloom, particularly his book, The Way of Whiskey, on Japanese whiskey. When I read that book, I really wanted to go to the airport, get on a plane, and fly to Japan, because it's not just about Japanese whiskey, the history and the distilleries, and about his experience over there is really, really, really good. In terms of basic whiskey books, there is a book I would not recommend. I can't read it. I can't remember the name of the author. It's a book on Irish whiskey. The print is this freaking small. So imagine this is his book. Whoever the freaking publisher is, all the print is right here. They have all this blank space here. You can't freaking read the writing. It's like, one of my older brothers moved in with my house, and I said, I didn't say nothing. Adam, what do you think of this book? He's looking at it. He goes, let me get my glasses. And he puts it on, and he's a published author, and he's got another book coming out. Anyway, he's like, what the hell? Anyway, so that's a book I would not recommend.
Probably Complete whiskey course, which doesn't even involve a whiskey course. It's like a complete whiskey guide by
Okay.
Rob Robinson. It's a pretty good.
I'm not familiar with that
I
one.
recommend
Okay.
it. It's a good read where it breaks down each category of whiskey and the history of whiskey,
Okay.
where people believe it began much like in India, whenever the British sailed finally, when they didn't have, sailed across the Cape and then into India, and then that's where they believe that it came from, was the beginning of whiskey, and then that got brought back by the English, and then it made its way from England into Scotland, where they ended up doing Scotch, and then it just kind of from then on, it just snowball effect.
So for bourbon, I really like Bourbon Justice by Brian Harara. Even if you're not into bourbon, if you just want to, if you're studying American history, I think it's really, really good. But that's more on the history of bourbon rather than necessarily on bourbons itself. If I was at my house, I could go to my library and pull out the books and show you from there. But those are the ones that made it come to my mind. I could do a whole. I've actually done. Michael. Anything by Michael Jackson? Not the he beat it. That kind of guy. Not that Michael Jackson. But books by Michael Jackson, who passed away a number of years back. Anything by Michael Jackson. So the big names: Bloom, Charlie Mack, Charlie McLean. And Michael Jackson are probably like the most well known. So in terms of authors, are probably the ones, but you're focusing on mostly on Scotch on those. I'm going to get another ice cube.
Well, someone wants to ask if we can describe what we're drinking. Besides, I guess you might want to.
Let me get ice cube. So
Yeah.
we're drinking bourbon. I'll be right back. One sec. Hold on.
Well, is it technically considered bourbon with them using used oak barrels?
On the initial of the note, what does it say on the label?
Well, on the note, what it says on the label is whiskey distilled from a bourbon mash.
Oh, okay. Then technically, legally, no, it's not. Okay. But okay, so I was describing it as being a bourbon according to how it tasted, not what it said on the label.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Which is smart. But.
So I mean, and anybody who would be tasting that blind would say it's a bourbon.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't go, oh no, this isn't a bourbon. This is a bourbon a bourbon mash whiskey. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between that. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here tonight. I'm flying out tomorrow, but he's got to leave here with his wife tonight. In fact, it looks like she's leaving right now.
She's leaving me.
There you go.
Oh, no, I mean, it looks like she's grabbing her stuff and getting ready.
Oh,
Yeah.
She's all right.
She might be leaving me.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Anyway, so we're drinking a bottle of the Eleanor 9.6. What time is your? Oh, is it 6 o'clock? What time are you supposed to boogie?
I don't know.
You better find out.
Well, because she's not in the room.
Okay, she made the arrangements. He might have to take off.
I may, but
Anyway, so that's what we're drinking. So that's what we're drinking here. Okay.
Okay, well, real quick, I guess I'm gonna do a quick tasting.
He's got to catch an Uber.
Well, I guess we can do quick tasting notes.
Okay. So I got mine on ice. So I didn't. Mine. This is how I like to drink because it's refreshing. So I mean, like this, I get loads of vanilla and cinnamon, and you get corn notes, you get some wood notes, and so forth. But in the Eleanor, in comparison with this and the other Eleanor I have, this is not as big and bold and intense as that one.
I seem to get a lot more vanilla bean. On
Okay.
those more than anything, or more like a very herbal vanilla bean.
Okay.
Sort of thing.
So, his wife is very polite. So they got very polite. But when I saw her going by with the luggage, that means the Uber's showing up. He's got to fly out of here. So.
And you get more wood, definitely.
Okay.
More wood and actually a little bit of walnut.
On the bourbon.
On the bourbon.
Okay.
Not on you.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, you got my card, you got my coin.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely keep in touch.
Okay.
And of course, you've liked and subscribed to my channel.
Of course.
That's right. All right. So don't want you to be in trouble. You've been married, what, a year and a half?
Mm-hmm.
Still somewhat near that newlywed stage. I don't want to keep him out of trouble. Even though she's wearing sunglasses, I think she gave him the look.
Yes, she did.
We're going, leaving, dude. Get your act together.
But the one I've always learned is happy wife, happy life.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Otherwise, you end up with happy lawyers.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I don't know about happy. Well, depends who you talk to.
Anyhow.
Oh, yeah.
All right, bro. You got a fun time trying to wear that on the plane. So we'll keep in touch, and hopefully we'll see you again.
Oh yeah.
And thanks for joining me. I'm gonna wrap this up. I'll still talk a little bit more, but he's got to head out, catch an Uber, and head off to a plane.
I don't want to be on a plane.
All right. So give Amy a hug for me.
I'm coming. I promise. Don't hurt me.
She smiles, so we're good. We're good. All right, that's good. So I guess I was getting some text from Daniel. I'm gonna send him his response, right? I'm sorry. Anyway, sorry. Daniel was texting me while we're alive. I don't want him to think I'm completely ignoring him. I just had to let him know. All right, so now it's just me and just the Eric Waite Show. We've been on for about an hour and 5 minutes. So let me see who else has come into the room. In the meantime, I'm going to make the. Let me see if I can make the chat a little bigger. It just froze. I don't know if it froze for you guys. All right. Okay. Now I can actually read what you guys are saying. All right. Cool. I just need to make the chat thing bigger. All right. So, what batch is it? This is the 9.6. The 9.6. So basically, the latest releases, a lot of them were sort of COVID. Actually, you wouldn't think COVID would have anything to do with it. So they were producing batches that were intended to be used more for making cocktails, I guess, rather than a distribution. And then COVID kind of threw a wrench into the whole thing. Into the whole thing. So that's so his wife isn't driving. They're taking an Uber to the airport. Actually, in terms of all the students in the class, I was the one who actually drove here. Everybody else, and I'm sitting here another night. Everybody else was taking Uber. So anyway, so it was really cool. So the night before the first day of class was Monday the 6th, which was my birthday. So we ordered a bunch of pizzas, hung out, more or less a lot of introductions, and got to know each other, which is excuse me, which is an element. I mean, even though that's not part of class and that's not part of teaching instruction, that is part of the learning environment. And if Will, Whiskey Crusader, is in here, I'm not agreeing with me. The difference, and I'll get more into this video. Learning environments. If you're taking online courses, you get facts, information, you take an exam, and that's great. But in a place where like this is where you can also make connections with people, to where you met them at the class in school, and for years and years and years, not necessarily every single individual, but you keep in contact with people because you live together for a couple of days in this housing. You're in class together, you had this experience together, and then you continue to keep contact. So that's nothing about the class in and of itself, but the environment in which you learn. So Crucera says it's much different when you interact with people versus online. Right. So Whiskey Crusader, Sarah, she's also an alumni. Aaron Hardman says, have you had the chance to try any interesting whiskeys down there? Yes, far too many than I can remember. So basically, we went through, I don't know, 8 or 9 flights of 3. So you have this triangular, holder thing, and you have 3 Glencairns in it, and they do different types of flights. And basically, the main emphasis is on comparing this whiskey with that whiskey, this whiskey. So you're learning by comparison and contrast in terms of different types of categories, and then you discuss them, what notes you're getting on them. Daniel will give his impression of them, and then conclusion as what it is. And then there was a gal by the name of Melissa, who's a graduate. I think she's a level 3, and so she's in the back. She's helped administer in terms of filling and stuff like that. And then she would come out with the bottles and do the reveal as to what it is. So you're tasting all through that. After graduation, then basically you're hanging out for a couple hours. You get to go pour yourself. So only people who can pour themselves something in the vault is someone who's a graduate. So then you're hanging out in there, hanging out on the patio. Daniel smokes cigars and drinks his tea out on the patio, and he doesn't have a whiskey until the very, very end because he's keeping himself on the straight and narrow, hanging out and stuff like that. And then so you get to pour yourself anything you want in the vault. So in the vault, I tasted. So I hadn't had any Cavalons, so Taiwan whiskey. So I tasted some of those. You know me, I'm an Ardbeg, so I had tasted it before, but I wanted another taste of it. Is Lord of the Isles from Ardbeg. What else? Oh, a Glen Breton was the first one I had. Glen Breton is a distillery in Nova Scotia, Canada. I had the 15-year-old. It's not an impressive whiskey, and I wasn't looking for something to impress me. I wanted something that was hard to find, you couldn't get here in the U.S., and was unique and just different. It was a fairly simple whiskey. There was some citrus notes. I liked it, nothing to rave about. But if you go online, look up Glen Breton, Breton. Beautiful distillery. It looks like they picked up a distillery from Scotland and dropped it in Nova Scotia, which of course means New Scotland. So beautiful distillery. But if you try to go there, I mean, you're flying to the furthest east of Canada, and then you're going to drive for hours and hours and hours. It is way in the hell out there. Versus Scotland, Islay is far away. But once you get there, you go to Islay, for example, you could fly 11 hours, 10 and a half hours, 11 hours, depending on where you live, over to Glasgow. You could take a flight from Glasgow, a little plane down into Islay. But once you get there, there's 9 distilleries to visit. It used to be 8, now there's 9. So, but if you go to Glen Scotia, there's only one out there. So, by the way, I'm getting eaten. I got eaten alive by whatever the critters are. So I got a bite there, and all of my legs. Logan, the bugs don't even touch him, but his wife was getting bitten. Welcome to Texas. So anyway, I tasted a lot of interesting whiskeys. If I had to do over again, I probably would have taken more pictures of the bottles. But for me, I was more focused on getting a general impression of everything. I was taking the blind taste to see what I could identify, what I recognized. And out of everything we tasted that I can recall, I think I only missed like 1 or 2 out of everything we tasted. I was able to identify not the distillery, but in terms of style, where it was from. I was able to identify that. So I was doing really, really well with that. Daniel had actually blind tasted me. I was here a couple of weeks ago, and Daniel blind tasted me on. I'm just not bragging money. Daniel had blind tasted me on something, and I absolutely nailed it. I smelled it, tasted it, described it, and said, at the base ingredient is malt. It seems like a Scotch, but it's got this youth to it. It's got this heavy barrel extraction. Consequently, it's a malt, but it's climate-wise, it's from a place that's heavy, a lot of heat, which leads me to either the United States or potentially Australia. Zach said, well, it could be South Africa. I said, yeah, but I've never had anything from South Africa. And it turns out it's actually, the spirit was actually from the Isle of Arran, but it's being aged here in Texas. So, but using the deductive method and certain characteristic traits, I was able to kind of nail that one. But watching Daniel's nailing it, not just in terms of general region, he's nailing the actual producer and stuff like that. So he was doing really, really well. I think one of the other sort of a general impression is I've become much more aware of I need to spend a lot more time with Irish. I just need, that's probably one of my biggest weaknesses. Now, if I'm weak in Canada, weak in Japan, okay, they're not as big and as important. I mean, Ireland is a really, really important region. So I need to spend a lot more time with Irish whiskey. So it's on my agenda before the end of the year.
buy a ton of, and not just, so I've been collecting some, but sort of the better Irish whiskeys. But so my goal when I get back is I'm gonna fill up a shelf full of Irish bottles, and even if I don't do videos of them, I'll on my own. The other thing, one of the things I want to do to prove my own tasting is take a lot of the bottles I have, put them into minis, and create blind kits, my own blind kits. And so this could be blind kit number whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then put on a card in an envelope as to what's in there. And so one of my older brothers moved in with me, so I could tell him, or say, ask him, hey Adam, give me one of the blind kits. He could bring me out a blind kit, and I could have I could have a closet full of them. Sort of like what Phil and Deepa, Whiskey Mystery are doing, except I would do it with little mini glasses rather than, they do like a whole thing, but there's 2 of them doing it. They do it with something that's maybe this big, and then so create my own blind tasting kits, and then just ask my brother to bring one out and then just go basically through the same thing that we're doing in class. And you could do a box that's all Irish, a box that has an Irish, a Scotch, a Japanese, and a Canadian, or a bourbon. You could do, create different kinds of blind tasting kits and different types of comparisons, and just start doing those. I don't think I would do the blind tasting on my channel, but I'm for the general viewing audience. I don't think it's something people would want to watch necessarily, but I might do it as videos and make it available for Patreons if they're interested, or just do it on my own, But I think that's something that I came away realizing I need to work on, and something I want to before I get into do the level 2 thing. Hey, Whiskey She Wines. Hey, how you doing, man? Yeah, I'm having fun. Everything here has been awesome, with the exception of the weather. It's unbelievably hot and humid. I get the same temperatures here where I live, but not the humidity, and eaten alive by bugs and mosquitoes and whatever. But other than that, it's been absolutely fantastic. The people have been great. The whiskeys have been great. The overall learning experience has been great. And I'm going to make a more formal video in comparing. I'm going to do some comparing this school with others in terms of the material and what's presented. So I don't know if it's Sam or Bobby or both. Oh, it's Sam. Okay. I'm guessing Bobby might be working. So if anybody's got any questions, I'd be more than happy to ask them. So here's the funny thing. But actually, so I'd have a place in Sacramento, have a place down here, here, or retiring and stay. Oh, Bobby's there. Okay, Bobby's grilling. Awesome. It's a barbecue. Or in my later years towards retirement, maybe move down here. But I'm like, shit, man. The weather here, I don't want to live somewhere I'm just bitching about the weather all the time. Michael Haster, I don't know if you're talking to me or somebody else. He says, have you talked to Bart or Scott, Scotch Test Dummies? I texted Bart just to check, Scott the other day just to say hello, how you guys doing? But not anything this is really enjoyed the class. But I have a different perspective on than I think other people, because I went through the Magical Worlds class, which gave me, I think, a framework to understanding their approach to marketing. And I said before, if you're turning late, it was like a college semester of information crammed into 3 days. And so after the first night, my brain was just like, I'm still even today absorbing the material and sifting through it and sorting with it, and it's like a cow. A cow has 4 stomachs. So a cow chews on grass and then swallows it and then brings it back up, chews on it. And this is a great picture, right? And swallows it. So a cow doesn't just eat something once. It goes through it multiple times, and as it chews its cud. That's what the school is like. It's not that you're going to learn everything you need to know. In fact, no class you take on any subject, you're going to learn everything you need to know. But you get a ton of information, and then you're going to need to spend some time chewing on it and meditating on it and going over it again. So what I would say from the class itself, I saw where my weak points are in terms of blind tasting. I would say in my head, I'm combining the Magical Worlds class with this class because topic-wise and structurally and philosophically, they kind of blend together in my head. And I'm still kind of, okay, there's principles and there's application. I'm figuring out in my head, I understand these principles and how am I going to now apply this and how do I work this out in real life? So that I'm still working on that in my head. They have other classes here, like on videography, I think, and stuff like that. I wish I lived here in the neighborhood. I would like to take more of those type of classes. But anyway, so overall, I liked the environment of being here. That's a big thing, and that's something you can't describe or explain or convey. It's doing something online, taking online courses, reading some books, taking a multiple choice exam. And then getting them, passing. Yeah, you're getting information and content, but experientially, there's a difference between an online college and being in college and making connections with people, meeting people. So while I've been here, everybody's been in my class. I've given them my card and given them one of my coins. Hanging out here afterwards, we didn't do it this time because of the governor. But when I was out here after the Magical Worlds class, we hung out out on the deck outside the Fang and Feather. Hold on, take a sip. There's about 8 to 10 of us hanging out. So we got to hang out and just shoot the shit. I got to meet Daniel's dad. Really, really cool person. He's an author, published author, and hang out and chat. It's sort of that environment. So if anybody was planning on taking this class, I would highly, 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 highly recommend staying a couple extra days if you can, or coming early and be able to hang out over a weekend at the Crowded Barrel and visit distilleries in the area. Now, you guys know I've been to a lot of distilleries in the area, so that wasn't part of the experience this time around, but because I've already been there. But I would come down here, attend the school, and visit distilleries in the area. You have Andalusia nearby, Milam Green, Still Austin. Definitely check out Still Austin. If you want to do a little bit more of a trek, you could go up to Waco and visit Balcones. But you could also go to local shops, even if you're not going to go visit distilleries, and pick up stuff that you can't get out of state. I picked up a peated Balcones. I picked up a more heavily peated Andalusia and stuff like that. So Whiskey Crusader says, wait until the Rona's over. Yeah, totally hear you on that one. And I mean, who knows? It could never be over. We may just adapt. I mean, so the outcome of 9/11, that never changed. We still live in the wake of that, and that was, 2001, 19 years ago. So we don't know. I know everyone's getting anxious and everyone wants to return back to normal, but who knows how it's going to go. We'll have to see. We're waiting for and even if they come up with a vaccine or a cure or whatever, vaccines aren't magic wands. And I don't want to get off on this subject. They tend to have side effects. So there's still decisions to make there. Now I'll move on. Sarah says Psalm 2 is supposed to be in August, waiting to see what happens. Excuse me. Yeah. So even if you got to wait 6 months. Even if I could get into that class, I probably wouldn't take it anyway, just because. Waiting for the Rona to be over. But whatever. I don't want to get off on that. So the accommodations here, and I'll talk about that in the bit. The architecture and the environment, and I've never been to Tuscany or Spain, but the way in which they've designed it's maybe a little bit more towards Spain, but the architecture and the buildings and the facilities here are really, really, really nice. This is not your freaking Motel 6 or any of that BS. So in addition to education, in terms of the didactic part of it, the information that's conveyed, there's the environment not only in terms of meeting people, but then, it's a nice, very, 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 very nice setting, very, very, very comfortable setting. It's a nice vacation and a nice environment to learn. And I'll get more into this. It's sort of like in the Edinburgh Whisky Academy, they don't have housing, but they have this like 18th century mansion that they have the classes at, called I think it's Addison House. That you get to, it creates an environment. Watch my interview with the founder of the Edinburgh Whisky Academy. If you haven't seen that, go watch that, because we talk about that. I think environment in which you learn, not only in terms of the enjoyment of it, but I think psychologically it has an impact of the overall experience of it and being in a studious atmosphere. There's something about getting away from your parents' house, going off to college. Yeah, people go off to college and they become party nuts and whatever else. But there's something about the campus atmosphere, whether you're talking about going off to Stanford or Harvard or whatever else, that's going to be very different than going to your local junior college or going to Arizona University online. But doing education online has its own pros, saving money, saving time, not having to relocate. Life in general has pros and cons, right? Benefits and costs. So you have to figure out for yourself the pros and cons of whatever education you're going to take as to what you're going to get out of it. And that's going to be determined according to your goals, right? So what are your goals? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to do? What do you want to experience? What can you afford from the practical standpoint? But that's not for me to tell you. You have to figure that out for yourself. And I'll get more into this in the video, every type of school and education, regardless of whatever it is you study, is going to have its strengths and weaknesses and pros and cons and whatever. So, but generally overall, this has been a totally positive experience. And nobody's said anything in a while, so I'm hoping somebody say something so I know we're still active. Because the last person to say something was Sarah, who said the campus is beautiful. The weather sucks, but the campus is beautiful. Somebody say something. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah. I know people they're not chatting. They're not watching. But when the thing's not moving, thanks. When the thing's not moving, your fear is, oh shit, am I talking to myself? Because it could have died and I didn't know. Anyway, all right, thank you very much. That's cool. Thank you very much. So, thank you, Will. Just soaking it all in. Thank you. But when you go live, I've had times where I'm going blah 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 blah, and it turns out there's nobody there. The thing is frozen or whatever else. So, everybody's got their haters, right? I get bullshit comments on my channel. Most of it is prevented from being posted automatically by YouTube. So I try to respond to all my comments. And if you go to the comment section, there'll be something that says it says something like possible spam, and then it says held for review. So when I try to respond to everybody, but I'll go up into that and see what somebody posted. So if people spam, they can go, great video, and they haven't watched Jack Diddley. They're just going around to a gazillion channels and they posted cut and paste, great video. They're just posting because what they're trying to do is for you to see them, and hopefully you will click on their name and go to their channel. And it's a way for them to use your channel to get discovered for their channel. I know of at least one whiskey tuber who does that. I won't say who it is, but I know one who does that. And so you just go on, great video. And the funny thing is, the people who know that he goes around and does it, they know he's doing that or whatever. I won't go into that. Anyway, How to get a phone to that? I don't know. Anyway, so everybody has their haters, and the Whiskey Tribe has their haters. But the top YouTubers. I mean, go to Casey Neistat, one of my favorite YouTubers. Look at how many thumbs down he gets. The biggest YouTuber of all, PewDiePie. Look how many thumbs down he gets. So if you're not getting thumbs down, if you're not getting haters, you're not doing something right. And welcome to planet Earth. That's just the way it is. So, and there are people, I'm going to get thumbs down on this. I don't care. But when you really get to know someone in person, when you get to know what they're really like in person, rather than just what you perceive through a video, or what you hear about, or what somebody says negatively in blog. So, there's a lot of drama going on right now with the quartermaster sommeliers. I had a bunch of drama going on the last couple of weeks with the study group for the quartermaster sommeliers, and I got accused of all kinds of really nasty stuff. I had all these haters and giving me all this bullshit and accusing me of all kinds of things. But what was awesome is the entire community, including master somms, advanced somms, and people, master somms who know me, totally came to my defense. And which just like makes them people look like a-holes, which basically is just like, Eric Witt's awesome. He's a great guy. He's really dedicated. I'm not trying to blow my horn, but I'm not going to defend myself. But when everybody else in the community comes to your defense and basically gives this one guy, the finger, it makes you go, okay, then I'm doing right. But there's always going to be someone like that. So. Welcome to the world. All right, let's get back to positivity. So I really like this whiskey. I would say the first bottle of Eleanor that I had, the one I have at home. Whether you're talking about a corporation, a government agency, a religious community, a whiskey community, the Elks Lodge, any community, you always have a certain percentage that are a-holes. And that's just the human race. So you just, okay, they're there, whatever. But one of the things Rex says is, if they're haters and whatever else, that means they're not part of the tribe. Whatever, and I tell you, then they're not one of your tribe. Worry about people who are your tribe, not in terms of the outsiders. Donner Pass says, have recently noticed a ton of going on YouTube on all different channels. You go to their channel and they have nothing. And multiple channels, I report them. Okay. Oh, okay. So people get off on it. The funny thing is, South Park did a whole thing on trolls. It was pretty funny. But anyway, so I would say, so the bottle I have at home, I would say I like more than this one. I think the one I have at home has more age on it, but maybe I'll do a side-by-side comparison between that one and this one. That might be interesting. I more or less bought this for this occasion, since Logan and since we weren't going to be able to hang out at the Fang and Feather due to the governor's orders, and we couldn't hang out on the porch and drink cocktails or whatever. Hey, Scully's House of Thrillers. Hey, how you doing, man? So Scully's House of Thrillers, we actually met through Nick Nimmin. Nick Nimmin is sort of an expert on how to be a really good YouTuber, and we met through that. So. Thank you much for tuning in. Yeah, it is a pretty bottle. If you look through there's a woman, and that's Eleanor. So that's the name is Eleanor. And then they have like the Whiskey Tribe coin on there. I don't know what the story is. I actually have one of those. This is a label. I actually have one of these as a coin. This is just a label. I don't know what the story is behind Eleanor herself. Is that somebody's grandmother? I don't know. I've actually talked a little bit with Daniel, not seriously, about I'd like to do a bottle that I would commission do a bottle, and I would do it in honor of my mother. So something similar to this, but rather than Eleanor being back there, it would be my mom when she was probably graduate from high school and college. So it's in her youth. And I would either call it by her first name, which I'm not gonna tell you what it is because I don't want someone to copyright it or whatever, brand it, whatever. Or I would probably use. We had a nickname for my mom when growing up, and it's in German. I'm not gonna tell you what it was, because I'm contemplating. So I need to look at how much it would cost and so on and so forth. But I'm considering seeing, and I'll talk more about this with Daniel. Hey, let's do a bottling. Here's the profile. Kind of I like to do a single malt, maybe something a little on the sweet side. You know, my mom. I'm thinking of my mom. See if we can do something with a little floral, because my mom. And it would have my mom's picture on it, and I see how much it costs, and then let's see if we can do it. I think it'd be really cool to honor my mom. I always thought if I ever owned a vineyard, I would name it after my mom. But since I moved on to whiskey, I'm thinking about doing something like this for my mom. So anyway, so Steve says, need to read the whole story on the website, named after the lady that, oh, that's right, that helped them file the Texas paperwork. I meant now, okay, thanks. I remember Daniel mentioning that. So yeah, that's right. That's nice. So how does it taste? It tastes like a bourbon. It is though. Technically, legally, it's not a bourbon. Prepare yourself for bad news, brother. Wagon overturned on the Swift River west of Goshen. Please. I broke my back. This is their BS story, which they're trying to BS on purpose, just for giggles. Laid up on recovering. Eleanor held on for a few days, but passed peaceably. Last words, tell Valentine I love him, and I knew from the beginning he was the one leaving the apples. Napoleon. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's a tongue-in-cheek, it's a joke, a story, because just if you know these guys, Eleanor apparently is the one who processed the paperwork to help them get legal, become a legal. And apparently, I don't know, I'm kind of thinking like maybe, anyway, Eleanor Weiss, the story of Valentine Eleanor Weiss, okay. And now Whiskey Crusader Will says, I want a bottle of Patricia for my mom now. So my mom passed in September 22nd, 2013. So it'd be something to honor my mom. So I would basically come down to talking money. If I could get it done for $6,000 or less, I'd probably pull the trigger and I'd do it. $10,000 maybe. I might do it for $10,000 less, and then depending on how much it would cost. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But it's just kind of a thing I would like to do. I think it's a really, really cool idea. I like the design. I like the concept of, the sort of faint image in the background. I wouldn't want to do it exact same thing, same font, same. I wouldn't do the coin. You don't want to do the exact same thing. It's just like, okay, here's another one. Something you want to do something unique. But I like the idea of the image of showing through. That'd be the one thing I would take from this. But anyway, that's all another thing. Led Zepp says, wait, you should move to Texas. Everything in life has its pros and cons. Austin is not inexpensive, but neither is where I'm living. The weather's a bitch. The bugs are a bitch. That's the one thing. But I'm considering it. I'm considering getting a place here and being California, and spend part of the time of the year in California and part of the year in Texas. But that's down the road. So anyway. Sarah, I'm not moving up to Dallas-Fort Worth. I would want to be part of this community. So geographically, I would want to be in this area. But anyway. So, all right. So I've been on for an hour and 38 minutes. And Scully says he's used to the bugs. So really, really enjoyed the school. Here's a funny thing, because I had to teach I had to teach the following day, and I'm sort of tense and nervous about teaching. I mean, I know the challenge is you have this much material, you have this much time. Where are the people at? And you have to kind of figure out, am I going to overwhelm them with information to where they're going to tune out and overload them? I mean, I've done teaching college, teaching in high schools. I've done teaching within churches, preaching. So when you're dealing with a congregation or an audience, you have to kind of how deep you want to go, how much you're going to lose them, pacing, how much time have you got, so how much material have you got, and to pace it out. So I already made it in my head, while I was teaching the class, a couple of changes I would make. Overall, within the time frame, we covered the material. I think the mission was accomplished. I think everybody seemed to really enjoy it. I think everybody got something out of it. I think it was overall a success. There are 3 things that I would do differently next time. Overall, I think it worked out really, really, really well. But so graduation day, everybody was like, "Yay, graduated!" Drinking whiskeys. And Daniel had asked me, "So what do you think?" I was not in the excitement mood, only because my mind was on the next day, and my mind was already ahead, and thinking about the next day and what I was going to need to do. So for me, I felt the excitement of graduation the following day when the class was over and we're hanging out and drinking then. For me, that's when I got that, when it's over and you kind of chill and you relax and you have some whiskeys. For me, it was the next day because then it was finally over, right? So it was a slightly different experience for me. Not that I didn't enjoy graduation and whatever else, but it just, Sarah, yes, the adrenaline rush wears off, or the tension and the stress wears off. Exactly, the next day. So it was a slightly different experience for me. So if and when I teach here again, I don't know if it will. If and when I teach here again and we're in talks, I think I'll be a little bit more comfortable because I'm a little bit more comfortable. I'm a little bit more set with the environment. The pacing is the biggest challenge and when everybody's sitting there and they're watching, and you look at everybody's eyes, are you losing them? Are they connecting? Is there any questions? You're looking for feedback from the audience, congregation, classroom, whatever the context is. I think that's one of the things from comedians, that when comedians tell jokes and they're doing their stand-up and you're not getting the laughs the way you want, your energy for teaching, preaching, or doing comedy, your energy comes from those who you're talking to. And so you're reading the room, and there's sort of this connection. It's very different from doing videos, which is when you first start off doing YouTube videos, you have a camera, there's nobody there. And so when you're first doing whiskey tuber videos, it feels very weird, because if you have a background of doing public speaking, which I had in college and high school, teaching college, teaching high school, and doing stuff in a church, I'm used to the feedback. So the very first time you're in front of a camera, you tend to be stiff, a little bit more monotone, not as energetic. Not using body language, and it takes a little while to where you can treat a camera the way you would treat an audience, congregation, or classroom. And that takes a little bit of getting used to. So I think if I were to go do this again, it'd be different people who are at a different place. One of the things that I benefited from was most of the people in the class were students who just went to the school and we'd already met. I already knew their names. There were a couple people there who came just for this. There were some people there who weren't part of the Whiskey Somm class, but they were part of the Magical Worlds class. That helped me out a lot because I know who I was talking to. So there's a difference between let's take a church. So back when I was in the ministry, there was probably 20 different churches in Northern California that I was like an itinerant preacher, and I would go to different churches, and I didn't know the people. And then I had the local congregation. I knew those people. The big difference between going somewhere where you don't know the people, you don't know how deep you can go, you don't know how they'll understand things, versus your local congregation where you used to talk to them all the time. And there's a similarity to this where the classroom. Okay, I knew all these people, a couple new people, don't know them. So I kind of had an idea of how I could communicate, how deep I could go, and so forth. But with the advantage of a classroom versus, say, preaching is in a classroom, you can say any questions, right? It's not a one-way communication. And I had people in class. Some people in class, they're a little timid. They don't want to raise their hands. But you at least got a couple people who are really good at asking questions. And so I was really happy about that. There's always room for improvement. And then while I was teaching, Daniel was off to the left, and the class was in front. And so I could have side communications and side things with Daniel. Daniel could make comments, and so that was helpful as well. So while I was 99% doing the teaching, there was some interaction with there, and I was really thankful for that as well. And so we did what basically we did for 2 hours. We did sherry, basically from 10 to noon to lunchtime. Then we had a break for lunch. Then we came back, and then we did whiskey. I only talked about Scotland's relationship to the sherry industry like in 10 minutes. And then we spent the next couple hours going through a ton of sherry cask whiskeys. We went through like a Glendronach 18-year-old. We had an Amrut intermediate sherry cask. So I wanted to represent different countries as well as different whiskeys. So we had a Fino from Lefroy, the Lefroy Cartier Fino cask. We had a Glendronach 18-year-old, which is 100% Oloroso. We had in the Amontillado, it's a corn whiskey, and for life of me, I'm missing at the moment. It's kind of a hard whiskey to find, but Amontillado. I wanted a Tomatin 12 Amontillado, but it's not sold here in the United States. But most of your sherry whiskeys either just says sherry, doesn't specify, or it's going to be Oloroso or a combination of Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez. We had Balcones Brujeria, which is a combination of Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez. We finished with Ardbeg and O, which is Pedro Jimenez. We had the rarest one, and I'm hoping Daniel he had to go home before we were hanging out afterwards. We tasted, it was a Spanish whiskey. I can't remember the name of it. Aged in Palo Cantado. Only about 2% of all sherry makes it to Palo Cantado, and it's my favorite wine. So it's really hard, really hard wine to find, and even harder whiskey to find. But I managed to get a bottle of this Spanish whiskey aged in Palo Cantado, and it turns out it's not only my favorite sherry, it's my favorite whiskey. It was awesome. So I'm planning to do something similar to that class on my channel. I won't go as in depth on sherry. Obviously, I'm not going to be reviewing sherries and talking about like pouring sherries, but I'm planning on doing maybe a month of focus on whiskeys finished in or aged in 100% in particular sherries. So it'll be like, say like this much we covered in class. I'll cover maybe this much in my videos, and then I'll make the slides that I use for class. I'll make them available to my Patreons, and I'll also make them available for those in my Facebook group, because I can't upload to YouTube, notes, but I'll upload to that, so people will be able to download from that, and maybe I'll do something extra special for my Patreons as well. So that's probably that. I'm guessing that'll come up probably sometime in this fall. I'll do something like that. So Will says, what grain or category did you pull out of the hat? So I was focusing on countries. So Scotland, Ireland, we did the Redbreast Lestau, which is Oloroso. We did the Amrut Intermediate. So we have Scotland, we had Ireland, we had India, and then American, we had a corn whiskey, and then we had obviously Balcones, which is Texas. So I have different countries represented. And then we had a Fino represented. We had a Amontillado. We had a Oloroso. Oloroso is the easiest one to find. And then one Spanish whiskey covered the Pelo Cantado. And then the PX was covered by the NO from Ardbeg, and somewhat also covered from the Balcones Brajeria. Although the Balcones Brajeria is also aged in Oloroso as well. But if you buy an Oloroso, some Olorosos will be drier and some will have a little sweetness, because you can put in a little bit of PX, Pedro Jimenez, in Oloroso, and it's still labeled an Oloroso. So you can have an Oloroso that has a little bit of sweetness to it. And that's because they actually put a little PX in it. So there's actually very little PX Pedro Jimenez grown in terms of the grape, and very little Pedro Jimenez bottled singly by itself. It almost has the consistency of like a thick maple syrup or corn syrup. It's really thick. So a lot of times it's actually used to add a little sweetness to other sherries, but it also is varietally as well. Judge Holden says, what is a good Oloroso sherry? So one of the things I did at the end of the class is I recommended about a dozen different producers that I'm personally familiar with. There's probably another dozen that I could be recommendable. I'm just not familiar with the producers, personally familiar with them. What you're going to be able to find, see if you can find either Osborne with an E on the end, Osborne, fairly easy. In terms of easy to find, or Lustau, or Gomez. I've had a couple bourbons. Is it Emilio Gustau? Oh, Gonzalez Bypass. Gonzalez Bypass is probably the largest producer. Now, here's the funny thing is, so like the Fino sherry cask we had was freaking awesome. My previous experience with Fino was with Tio Pepe. I didn't like it. It's super dry, not fruity, just super yeasty. And so, because that was my impression of Fino, I've never really liked Fino. The Fino we had for the class, which I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, and it was like less than $10, was awesome. And even Daniel said, wow, this is really good. His previous impressions of Fino, he didn't really like it. But it was like apples and pears. It had fruity on the palate, on the nose. And then when you had a palate, it was dry, and then had like this, that yeasty, nutty, more oxidative character on the almonds. In fact, when Daniel said almonds, I was like, yes, you got it. And he was like, for Daniel, it was like, he was more impressed. His perception of sherry, I think, changed. Particularly, I think, on the Fino, because, if you've only had one beer and it was shit, you don't like beer. If you only had one whiskey and it was, then you're not gonna like whiskey. If you've only had one Pinot Noir and it was, and you derive your, I almost knocked that over. Your impression and your perception is based on that one experience, right? If you saw one video of the Whiskey Tribe or the Vault and it annoyed you and you don't ever watch anything else, right? If you've only had a neck pour, right, of a whiskey, and you base your Gemini, same thing. If you've only had a Fino that was super dry and not fruity character and just kind of and Tio Pepe, even though Tio Pepe is very inexpensive. So I had Tio Pepe in class for the W set. So when I was going back and doing videos on sherry from my wine channel, I had Tio Pepe. Didn't like it, but I had it. Yes. Steve A, never trust a neck pour. Although, if you like it from a neck pour, I've never had it go bad from there. I've had good neck pours, and it was good all the way through. I've had neck pours that were that got better. I've never had a good neck pour and then bad the rest of the way. Anyway, so this particular sherry I really like. I'm sorry I don't remember The producer. I don't have the notes in front of me. Yeah, I don't have the notes in front of me. Anyway, so in the notes and the slides at the end, I provide all the producers, how much it cost, and information about them. But the one we had, nice pears, nice apples. It was fresh. And then on the palate is different than the nose. The nose is a little bit more dried fruit and then yeasty character. So it was, and it was like, I don't know, $8 or $9. It was really, and I got a total wine. So anyway, that's all another thing. So, so I'm glad. I'm going to finish this up in 5 minutes, and then I've been on for 2 hours. So overall, I really, really liked it. Are there things that I would change? Recommendations? Hey, I would recommend doing this versus that. Da, 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 da. Yes. I think I could probably say that about any education program I've had, whether it's WSET or the ICC or Edinburgh Whiskey Academy. You know, I would say that about my own channel. My own channel can use improvement. It's always a constant process of improvement. You never arrive at a state of perfection. So there are some. I'm hoping to have an interaction with Zach and Daniel. Hey, have you thought about doing this? Now it may be the ideas I have in my head and what I would change. So, well, we do that in level 2 or level 3 or level 4 or whatever. And then I'm like, oh, okay. You know, it may be that kind of a thing. It may be. Totally agree with you, but we do that in another class, and in which I'll be like, okay, all right, that makes sense. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. You know, you can't fit everything into one class. You can't cram it all in there. Although the Magical Worlds class that I had, I felt like they tried to, because it was just my brain is still sifting through the information. There's a book by the last name is Ogilvy. I can't remember his first name. But he's sort of like the original, you know, old school guy marketing class. And I recently read his book. It was a book recommended by Daniel. It was really, really, really good. So now, would I recommend? I would say I'll say this again when I do my final. Would I recommend this for everybody? No. Would I recommend this for Edinburgh Whiskey Academy for everybody? No. Would I recommend the WSET, Wines for Educational Trust, the way they train things for everybody? No. Would I recommend everybody go to Scotland? Yes. Yes, go to freaking Scotland. If you can afford it, go to Kentucky. I think a lot of whether or not you do one particular type of training versus another is going to depend on, and I'll repeat myself in the video and when I do the video. What are your goals? What are your means? What can you afford? Not just in terms of money. What are your means in terms of time? Right? Where do you want to go? What are your aspirations? What are your expectations? And so whether or not you do this training versus that training, you know, if you're married and you got little babies and kids, you know, you're at a different stage of your life than you're at in mine. So if you're married and you got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, do I recommend you try to make a trip to Scotland and go visit distilleries? Probably not. You know, to try to go distillery hopping, with little kids. You know, I think it's really, really challenging. So online education might work out better for you. And just doing online education and reading books might work out better for you. That's just the way it is. And if you can't afford it, I don't think anybody should go broke or go into uber debt for any type of education or any type of travel. I just don't recommend that. So you have to figure out what works best for you. As an overall experience, a positive experience, and everything here, for me, it's just been a real blessing. And so I got 1 more minute. I would say for me, because I was given the privilege and honor of being able to teach here as well, I almost get like emotional about it. I almost felt like I was unworthy to teach. It's such an honor and a privilege to teach here. and had that opportunity and to share the experience and be able to interact. 'Cause I think so highly of these guys in this place. It was just, for me, an awesome experience. And I love these guys. I've been drinking. Now I'm getting emotional. I love these guys. I love this place. I love these people. I love the community here. I love the tribe. And it was just, for me, it was just an awesome experience. And when afterward the class, we're like in the circle out on the patio that's between the class and the vault. And everybody talks about their favorite moments of the class. I had 3 goals. Everybody learned a little bit something about sherry, the takeaway. Everybody, what I really wanted to say, you know what? I want to explore more. If they are like, wow, this is cool, I want to explore more, that's my #1 goal, really. And if they had a good time. Even if they go, sherry, yeah, it's cool, but I had a good time. I'm not going to drink sherry, but I had a good time, then that's cool too. But if somebody was curious and they were inspired to explore more, that's one. And as I was listening to everybody talk, and we were sharing this Spanish whiskey, this from made in Palo Cortado, and everybody was sharing, and I could hear everybody's stories. And I don't think they were saying stuff just to make me happy. They were being honest and sincere. I was so blessed that they were taking away from the class everything I wanted them to. And that was the awesome part. Judge Holden, $5. He said, loved your, I think I said Dewars. Doers, illegal smooth recommendation. Thank you very much. Enjoying the first Jura 10 at the moment. Best value sherry dram I've had. Beats any space at Highland for the money. Cool. I haven't, all the Juras I've had have been like little minis. So, and Jura is going through a change. So their newer bottlings are different than their older bottlings. They're going through a sort of a renaissance. They're changing things. So I'm waiting sort of for their new releases to come out. AJ Lopez, $5. Thank you, sir. Or actually $4.99 plus tax. Oh, hey, look, it's been one bearded. It's been that one bearded guy. Too bad you're not gonna be in debt. Sorry. So my itinerary for travel around changed due to the COVID crap. So anyway, so I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. It's dinner time. It's now 7 o'clock, and I'm gonna try to go to bed early. I got an early flight tomorrow, heading back to California. But overall, this has been absolutely awesome, and it's not gonna be my last experience here. And looking forward to doing this again. So, alrighty, I'm gonna call it a night, and Slanjava, and cheers, you magnificent bastards.